Hi everyone. This is the second part of my series on the eighth continent. So let's just get into it. When we last left off, let's see, there were explosions coming and bombs were we were running towards the explosions with Dad. So the question is, will I go with him or will I let go of his hand and move sideways out of the line of fire? I guess if there's an explosion coming, I'm gonna move sideways. Your father holds his hand out a few moments more, but you've turned to 90 degrees away and you're sprinting for cover. I left him? Crouching down beside the high stone wall that adjoins your neighbor's land, the concrete slabs of the wall warm to the touch, you look back for your dad. He is still standing in the middle of the garden, the flat expanse of ash, a serene space only disrupted by your desperate footfalls, and he is so caked in ash himself, and so motionless that he looks like a marble statue, a stone scarecrow cast into stillness by the storm. The tearing thunder of the volcanic bombs fills your ears, and then he is sprinting headlong towards you, just as the ground behind him erupts in huge blooms of soil and dark stone. Great clouds of ash thrown skyward, gnarled jagged rock tearing at the ground, spinning again through the dust. He slams into the wall, breathing hoarsely, and you both look back at where you just stood. It looks like no man's land, torn apart by artillery fire, huge mounds of blasted soil looking like those that stand beside freshly dug graves. You have the strangest feeling. This won't be the last time that your own judgment saves your life. Without a word, you and your father run for the bunker once more. You can hear voices ahead. Through the gray and black, voices. The ash warm around your shoes, you crunch through the fog, your breath acidic and cloying. Behind you, you cannot help but turn as with a sudden crack, like the sound of a giant oak being felled, your home begins to crumple, folding in slow motion like melting plastic. Suddenly lances of screaming rock tear through it as it falls, fatal strokes to shorten the suffering. The house then seems to drop into a void. Your old life, gone. At the end of the garden, the bunker is crouched low against the tumult, its doors swinging open. And then there's the voice. A woman's. Mom's. Mom is leaning out of the bunker, holding little Ben in her arms, and she's calling to you, crying. You both fall into the bunker, slamming the steel door shut. But there is no respite. Your mother is still on her knees, gasping, choking, coughing. She cannot catch her breath. She has been shouting, breathing ash, panicking. Her asthma may do what all the deathly elements have so far failed to achieve. If only you had her inhaler. Suddenly you remember you have got her inhaler. You have the inhaler, but first you'll try calming her down with soothing words alone. Now that's interesting because I thought just give her the inhaler, but maybe she'll need it later, so I'm gonna try to calm her down first. You take hold of your mother's shoulder, turn her face toward yours, and you whisper at first, then shout over the din, tell her to control her breathing. Rising in her voice, she tells you she can't, gasping and tears cleaning paths through her begrimed cheeks, sentences cut off by rattling, weak inhalations, and panic rises in you too. You look across at your father. He is holding Ben now, whose stunned eyes stare into the distance, and your father's expression is that of helpless terror. But you've done this before. You've done this so many times before. You start to tell your mother a story, about the time she locked her inhaler in the house, and about how Dad had to break in to get it, how she didn't need it by the time he'd come racing out, about the time you all went on the family walk in Aldenham Park, about how she'd accidentally packed an empty one, and about how she'd had to borrow some stranger's brown inhaler. It had given her a natural high. And your mother isn't breathing. No, your mother's laughing now. You're all laughing, and outside, the world is blowing itself apart. Proceed. Survivor, survivende. The metal door has a letterbox-sized hole, and you pull it across its shutter, which squeaks and loosens bronze shards of rust. It is a 20-square-inch picture of the world. The volcanic bombs seem to have ceased falling now, but the low rumble and the intermittent trembling of the ongoing quake persists. In the distance, seen through thickening layers and waves of purple, black, and phosphorus smoke, you watch buildings continue to fall, crumpling silently like tissue paper held up to a flame. The roar of wind drowns out every other sound. How many others can have survived? You cannot see anyone, nor hear a single voice. You close the shutter. It is better to look at the faces of your mother and little Ben, who is crying at last, usually an unwelcome sound, but which now feels like the last scrap of home you have left. Already Dad is on the concrete shelter, holding out his hands to help him visualize what he could do with the space. There's room enough for bunks, he tells you. Luckily, he already plumbed in a sink, though how long clean water will last is anyone's guess. But you have energy for foresight. Not yet. You slump to the floor. Your brain is asking you for sleep. It wants to catch up with the new world that you'll be waking up to. Proceed. Chapter 2. Ashfall. Oh, I could have ended my last video here. Well, this is Chapter 2. Your mouth dry with ash, your hands gray with dust, you are walking across the ruined city towards that same bunker. A year ago, everything you knew was destroyed, but not everyone. A year has passed since what you've learned to call the apocalypse, the end of the world, end day. For months, your family didn't even know what had caused it. Some people thought it had been a meteorite, others, the sudden cataclysm of some instantaneous global war. Old Father Hoskins used to say it was Judgment Day, used to joke that it was either that or aliens. You didn't even know what a super eruption was. Every volcano on the planet, dormant or active, extinct or high risk, simultaneously erupted. The ring of fire, the so-called Circum-Pacific Seismic Belt, went off like a powder keg. All that yellow, orange, red warning scheme stuff, all those nitpicking distinctions between quiescent and elevated and heightened unrest, all brushed aside in the event that looked like it would blast us into a second ice age. Maybe still will. And yet you, your parents, Ben, you are not to be so easily swept away. The cold and the ash always make it hard going, but you cannot help but stride ahead. Your father has told you not to, and yet you act as a scout. You are not a child any longer. Besides, there is another ashfall storm closing in. Its approach is already blackening the sky. It is time to get back to the bunker. If you hurry, perhaps then you'll not be caught in it. Mother really doesn't need to suffer another dust storm. But Dad just won't stop the search for supplies, even when the sky loomed gray. It was only when Ben started wailing and your mother stopped asking that he realized it was to go. Perhaps by then it was already too late. Yeah, I'm gonna call for them to move faster, and continue at speed. Oh, alternatively, you could stop completely and wait for your family to catch up. Yeah, I'm gonna tell them to hurry up. You twist around, squinting into the grainy wind. Come on, we haven't got much time. And you're about to continue walking when you hear your mother's faint voice, her outline ghostly in the whipping tumult. Go, she says, coughing. Run, run, run. There isn't time to react because something has hit you, a sharp pain in your head snapping away your vision, and you can feel yourself falling toward the rubble-strewn ground. In the darkness, the wind tears through the shattered concrete upon which you lie, drowning out the last whispers of Ben's crying. Your spit is powdered and has the sharp taste of soot. Whatever you witnessed, what little of the split-second, fragmented narrative that you can now make sense of, it is long since over now. Something came out of the mist and hit you, knocked you out. The ash that has burrowed into every recess of your clothing and mounted into tiny dunes tell you that quite some time has passed. Exactly how much time you cannot estimate. Now that you are awake, the wind has died and you are alone. The voices of the family linger, an already fading reverberation. Ben was crying, your mother was coughing. Now, nothing. You heard only 2 words, your father's voice, 8th continent. It was your father who spoke, but the tone was not his. It was not a question, nor a statement, nor a warning. He sounded entranced, bewitched, and then there was no sound at all. Your family evaporated. As you lift yourself up, your head swimming, you wonder if they are already at the bunker, worried sick about their wayward child. It seems impossible. A deep gloom has descended now, and the ash and soot drift in melancholy columns amid the struggling light. Fearing it can be nothing more than a gesture, and battling the sensations of nausea and dizziness, you resolve to look for your family. What will you do? Uh... Look where you remember last seeing them. Explore the area directly behind you where the projectile that knocked you cold must have originated. Run as far as you can into the mist towards where you think they could have gone. I'm gonna look where I remember last seeing... Well, I'm gonna explore the area directly behind me, and then maybe I'll have a chance to look further back. I can't really remember. From where a shadow of thinner ash marks out your silhouette, the ground where you lay unconscious. You try to ignore its strange resemblance to a body outline in chalk, and then you imagine the direction that the projectile must have come from. You scan the ground slowly, looking for any sign of disturbance in the soot. A few feet away, you come across a scorch mark on a raised slab of shattered concrete, a thick, oily residue now absorbing ash particles. It looks like something intensely hot burnt the surface here, but there is no sign of what was incinerated apart from the spray of oil. Confused, and after a few more minutes of fruitless observation, you turn away. Now what next? Look where I remember seeing them. You stumble over the rubble to where you remember seeing them last. Besides a few scuff marks in the ash, there's no trace that they were ever there. You stare uselessly into the thickening ash drift for several minutes. As you turn, dejected, you notice something on the ground. You must have missed it before because it was disguised with a thick coat of clinging ash, but you recognize it clearly now. You've seen it many times before. You've picked up Ben's teddy bear. Plus teddy bear. You can only imagine what could have made him drop it, why it wasn't reclaimed. From a well somewhere inside you, you feel tears fill your eyes, but you refuse to let them drop. Now what? Sorry, I need to stop because there's a lawnmower going on outside. Alright, I'm back. Yeah, I think it's worth it maybe to run a little bit further. Reduced to ashes. Oops. Fully explore the site of your family's disappearance. A sudden hope raises your pulse. If you can run as fast as you can, then there is a chance that you'll simply catch up with them. They've just become lost and wandered into the gloom. How many degrees are there? Yes. If you choose an angle, you've got a 1 in 360 chance of running right into them. That's not that great. And when you find them, you'll look back on this and laugh. You spring off the remnants of a brick wall, dart across the debris, cement fragments, and half bricks skittering. You almost slip, but momentum keeps your grip sure and you spring onward. Suddenly the ash is thicker, and you cannot see anything. You attempt to slow down, but it is too late. Something sweeps you off your feet and you feel a weightless headlong sensation, quickly ending in a painful landing. You've run straight into a low wall and somersaulted right over it to land on your back. Cursing your stupidity and brushing yourself down, you're suddenly accompanied by a new intensity of silence and solitude. Mother, father, Ben. They're not there. They're not here. You limp back, the tops of your legs throbbing, barely able to find your way through the ash drift. There is no more you can do. You will return to the bunker. The soft sensation of ephemeral ash drifting and catching on your skin, and the padding of its weight gathering relentlessly on the landscape is no comfort. Only yesterday you'd cursed your dad for not allowing you the independence to venture out into a minor ashfall by yourself. Now here you are, walking alone across rubble that was once your home, with your family lost. Beside your grief, there is something more savage materializing, a fist of something as hard as stone. You push through the door of the bunker, fling aside the tattered blanket that acts as a drape to the entrance, and allow your eyes to adjust. No matter how long you wait, searching the humble paraphernalia of subsistence that is your underground home, no matter how much you blink away what is undeniably real, you cannot conjure up the images of those who are simply not here. Are you all right? Father Hoskins sits in his usual chair, beside the wood burner that you and your father constructed a year ago. Have you seen Dad and the others? He shakes his head, his face suddenly contorted. What's happened, Morgan? Father Hoskins is an old friend, has lived with you and your family since soon after the end day. Breathlessly, you tell him what occurred out in the wasteland. It seems to take Father Hoskins time to form his response. You know, most people think that the 8th continent is just a myth, but surely they can't have gone far. His thick Scottish accent makes everything he says sound like a question, but what he says next resigns itself to being a statement. Sorry, I really don't know how to do a Scottish accent, so yeah, I'm just gonna read it out in a normal voice. But I suppose you're going after them regardless. The look that he sees in your eyes is response enough. The stone that's solidified in your chest is recognizable now. Resolve. Pushing himself painfully out of his chair with his walking stick, he says, God knows I can't come with you. He swallows deeply, begins afresh. You'll need to take some things with you. You unshoulder your pack and Father Hoskins help you collect what you'll need. +5 sweets, +5 food, +1 binoculars. You'll certainly want your father's PDA and his binoculars as well as some essential provisions. Press the power button on the PDA above to explore what you've just picked up. Your PDA also shows you the state of your body and mind. This readout, the red readout, shows your current physical condition. If it is depleted, you'll be totally exhausted and unable to continue with the rigors of your adventure. The blue readout gives an indication of your state of mind. If this falls to 0, you'll have despaired and be unable to face the difficulties ahead. Okay, so the PDA has an inventory, and the inventory has hack metal, which I have 0 of, Mum's inhaler, Ben's teddy, Dad's binoculars, 5 provisions, and boiled sweets. So the provisions are mixed rations and they give +5 body. The boiled sweets are an energy boost and a reminder of better times, and they give +1 body and +4 mind. And there's also a combat deck. Cover up. Attack 0, defense 2, speed fast, rest none. Effect, reduces damage taken by 50%, condition always. And catch breath, attack 0, defense 3, speed fast, rest 4 rounds. Effect, recover 2 health from catching breath. Condition, you're faster than your opponent. Journal. Okay, so there's an entry. On my travels today, by chance, I discovered the thing that I will henceforth refer to as Sample 1. It was dead, thank God. I thank God also that my family was not with me. I returned home, having stowed Sample 1 in a safe place. It is far too large to conceal in my pack, and I fear having the thing near the bunker. Goodness knows what it would attract. I have not told Sarah. I have said nothing about it to anyone. I dare not even describe its features here, not until I have made this PDA secure. Once that is done, I can record my analysis of this Sample 1. Entry 2. Oh god, there are 20. You know what? I'm going to end the video here, and probably read out this stuff in the next video. Yeah, I think it might be worth it to read it in case anyone wants to listen. Alright, until next time.